I gotta ask. I hope I'm not crossing any lines. What happened to John's crypto? I haven't been following that story. I mean, I imagine the guy had some crypto. I imagine he had some Monero. So what's going on?
There was a thing.
He lost it all in a boating accident. Yeah.
Yeah. So our boat was confiscated in Guatemala, and haven't seen the coin since then.
So you guys literally are the living personification of losing your crypto in a boating accident. That's very John-esque, Mcafee-esque. That's awesome. Yeah. So that the keys have sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
Yes. If there's anyone listening, if the IRS is listening, that's exactly what happened.
Wow. Okay. Did John use crypto a lot? Was he using it to transact and stuff?
Yes. He there was a Bentley that he bought. I don't know if he posted a picture, I think, on Twitter, his blue Bentley that he bought using crypto. I think he also bought a Corvette for me with crypto.
Nice.
I mean, he tried to use it as much as he could, as much as he was able to. Obviously, we went house shopping a few places that accepted, kind of just online, not physically going there, but online. There was, I forget the name of the website, but we were, just kind of looking at houses that were available using crypto. And something really cool, we actually found a hotel in London when we got deported from Guatemala to the UK. He was able to find a hotel that accepted Bitcoin while we were flying over. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. You should come down to Mexico City in May. We're going to do a Monero conference.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mexico City. I don't think I'm allowed in Mexico, though. I think John said anywhere in South America, just because of my relationship to him, I should probably stay away from.
Oh, okay.
From there.
So where are you right now? You're still in Spain?
I'm in Spain. I'm still in Spain.
And so
it's beautiful here. It's a little chilly, but it's beautiful. And if I were here under different circumstances, I would probably enjoy it very much. But it is beautiful. Yeah.
You think you're going to stay there, or you're just there until you take care of the situation? Okay.
Yeah, no. As soon as I can get his body, I'll become, going back to America. That's where my children are, and that's, I want to be with my children. So
we should mention it again at this point. I don't know if you briefly mention in the beginning, but there is a petition out, correct, to try to help sway the government.
Yeah, there's a petition. It did help initially. There's obviously it's not getting much traction now because it's a petition and they don't really do anything other than garner attention. And it did do that, and we were able to actually finally get the death certificate after the anniversary of his death, and with the petition with it was able to get that going. So it was helpful for that. And I think what will be most helpful moving forward is just me bringing awareness to people of what's happening here. So I'll be doing more interviews here locally in Spain, just to kind of put more pressure on the authorities here or on the courts here, so that they can give me a decision. So I'm not just sitting here in limbo, waiting. What's
kind of your latest theory on what may have actually happened?
I think it was. I think what they may be kind of trying to hide is maybe there was some medical malpractice that occurred.
Okay.
And this is why they're not willing to release his remains or the autopsy report. This is what I believe wholeheartedly. Now the bigger conspiracy of was he murdered and all of that, we can I can speculate on that till I'm blue in the face, but I just want to get the autopsy report, and I want to get his body, and if I can do that, then I'll have some answers. I'll have some answers, and I'll be able to share that with everyone. Because I know people that loved him, not only just people here on Twitter or his fans or whatever, but his family. He had family that cared about him, and I want to be able to get those answers for them as well. So
understandable.
I'll continue. Yeah.
I mean,
hopefully the answers will be coming soon. So I'm sorry. Please.
No, go ahead. Has there ever been a case like this where somebody they've been held up for that long where they wouldn't release the body? Is that
This is very abnormal for Spain. Very, very abnormal. This is not something that has ever occurred before. Even with the autopsy report, I'm told it's not something that they just give out. It's not something that it's not a standard practice for them to just give it out whenever someone dies. However, if it's asked for, if it's requested, then they turn it over with no problem. And so the fact that they're not turning it over just makes me really believe that obviously they have something to hide.
And has like your theories evolved over time from when this first happened till now?
No, just because of the police report that they did. This was the police report came from their investigation. So this is what the prison provided, after their investigation. And when they finally released that to us, I immediately, because of what I saw in the report, it immediately stood out to me that there was some medical malpractice there that occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was always, I always fully believed that. And I didn't think that they would try to drag this out. We're talking now, it's been over a year and a half now, and I'm still not able to collect his remains, which is just insane. I don't think that there's ever been a situation like this in the world, where they've just refused to release someone's remains.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
they've
crazy.
kind of dragged this decision out. I don't understand that, when I filed the appeal back in February, or the attorney did, they, I initially thought it would only take maybe a couple months or well, not even a couple months, but at the max a couple months, but a month maybe to just give me a decision. That's literally all that I'm asking for. Yes or no, will you give me the autopsy report? But in July, I found out that they had their deadline was 6 to 8 months. So I had to wait 6 to 8 months for them to give me an answer. And now they were now past the 8th month, which would have been October. And I still don't have an answer. And I'm still, waiting for, their response on whether or not they're going to release the autopsy report and in turn then release his remains.
Do you have theories of who might be behind what happened? I mean, I know you said it's there was malpractice there, but do you think there's other things going on? And
obviously, there are other things going on, just because of how long it's been, who's involved, and who's controlling it, who is making the decisions. I don't know. That's anybody's guess, but it's just clear to me that they're hiding something, and they're willing to continue to hold his body for however long they can. I think what they're trying to do maybe is just wait me out. Maybe they're hoping that I will leave and, just forget about it. But I could never do that. I want to get these answers for John, for me, for his family, and I could live with myself if I didn't try to push back,
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know one of the things he said there was, right, a dead man's switch where he was going to release information, right? Wasn't that one of the things he had said? Is there do you think they're trying to prevent information from going out? I mean, is there any theories there? Or?
I thought about that, actually. I did consider that maybe the reason for, in the documentary, when his ex-girlfriend, Samantha, at the end, I don't know if you saw the Running with the Devil.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm gonna watch it now.
I'm sorry.
Going,
that's a spoiler alert.
I'm going down the rabbit hole. No, it's not a spoiler alert if it's coming from you. I mean, gee,
okay.
This is better than the documentary.
Okay. Well, there are actually articles about it where she said that John had called her and from a Texas number, and said that she was one of few people that knew he was alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that he asked her to come and run away with him. And so, why did I mention that? Oh. Okay, yes, there we are. Okay. So I brought that up to say, I think maybe it's possible that whomever wants people to believe that he's alive, so that the information doesn't get released. I do believe he had this information that he spoke about, that he collected in Belize, obviously. Where it is, who has it, who can release it, I don't know. That's something he would have never shared with me. But if I'm just giving my opinion here, I don't think it's something, or it would be in someone's control, where the authorities or whomever is interested could just go to this person or this source or whatever it is and grab it and, keep it, prevent it from being released. I think he would have found a way for it to be released but without having to ask someone or put his trust in someone to release anything.
And how about when he got that tattoo? I mean, are you pretty confident that he meant what he said on on that tattoo?
The wax tattoo.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Um, so he got that obviously when we were here in Spain, and it was because he was getting, as he said, subtle messages that they were coming for him, and things were a little bit more tense at the time, where we were just having to move around so much, and so I think he had it, like he said, he had information where people, where there was a credible threat maybe to his person. And so he wanted to get that tattoo. I guess just as a way to let people know, I don't know, to kind of put them on alert, I guess, or I don't know, really. He always did things that, were curious at the time. And then you try to figure out, okay, what was he meaning to
well,
say?
I mean, you don't think it
I think
was?
it's obviously what he wanted to say, but yes.
Yeah, it was right to say like if you find him dead, it was because he
Yeah.
was whacked, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yes, and then also even with the tweet where he spoke about when he was in prison, and he said if I'm hung in something to the effect of if I'm hung in my cell, or if I'm if they say I die by suicide or something, a la Epstein, know that it was of no fault of my own, basically saying
yeah,
I wouldn't suicide myself. So it's similar to the whack tattoo,
yeah, yeah.
to let it be known that he wasn't suicidal, and he wasn't. We spoke every day while he was in prison. Once he was able to get phone privileges, we spoke, and we were able to speak 3 times a day. The phone calls were only 8 minutes though, so they were really precious 8 minutes, and we would talk about everything. Obviously, initially when he went in, it was stressful. Obviously, adjusting to prison life, but I think he was handling it very well. At least I didn't hear it. I couldn't hear it in his voice. Obviously, I would have been able to tell. And sometimes I could. And he was in pain. He was always in a lot of pain, just because of he's older, and he had bad knees and a torn Achilles tendon that he never got surgery on. So he had
Oh
these,
wow.
these physical ailments that kept him in pain a lot, and they weren't really doing anything to help with that, maybe giving him Advil, but that was it. So for the most part, I think he was handling his prison term like a champ, I guess, if I can say it that way, just handling it the best that he could. That was the situation that he was in, and he just tried to manage it as best he could. They called him Papa America. He got that nickname. We call him Papa America. He always said that a lot of the prisoners were surprised that he was in there, just because of who he was and what his crime was, because they actually had him in what in America we would call general population. So that's where you're with all the other criminals.
Mhm.
So he wasn't segregated or in like some old folks wing. He was with everybody: the murderers, the rapists, the drug traffickers, human
Oh
traffickers. He
wow.
was, with them all. So, but he said that the guards were kind to him. They treated him all right. People really looked out for him. The prisoners did, anyways. They took a liking to him. Obviously, he's a very likable
His
guy. So
charisma got
even
him
though
got him through as usual.
yeah, yes, definitely.
That's unbelievable. What was it like? I mean, living off the grid. I mean, are you still kind of trying to live that lifestyle? Are you still following those
Um,
ways?
I'm not trying to live the lifestyle, but just because of this situation, I'm having to be
Hmm.
continuing to be on guard. But I think honestly, I think it's something that's so ingrained in me that I will always live situationally aware at all times. It's just like breathing to me now. So when things happen where people are following me or something, which has happened, since John passed, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm asking questions, and maybe they don't want me asking questions. But whatever the reason, I've obviously had to continue to practice the things that I learned with John, as well as the things that I learned prior to my meeting him. But I think my meeting him obviously put me in a situation where the people that were coming after John were on a whole other level than I'd ever dealt with, and so just being aware of their tactics and how they move, and that has been very helpful. for me as far as just kind of noticing a shift in my environment. But being off the grid, it was very stressful. Let me answer that. It was extremely stressful being off the grid. So when we had to leave America, which was January 2019, my brother had just died November of 2018. So I'm mourning. I wasn't able to tell my family that we were leaving, but I was able to spend Christmas with my kids. It was a beautiful 2 weeks. We went to Disneyland for a week. It was awesome. So I was able to make those memories with them, which was something that I wanted to do because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to, once we left America, John, he told me, I have to leave. He said, yeah, and it's up to you. You can choose to come with me or stay. But I chose to go with him. Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No,
Okay.
I have questions.
It's no problem. Yeah, I chose to go with him, but it wasn't completely a selfless thing or just me wanting to support him. Obviously, I wanted to do that, but also because I was named in the secret indictment, and I thought my thinking was if I stayed behind, then they would try to come after me as a means to trying to go after him. And I felt that he would be safer. It would be safer for me if I went with him. Being on the boat was very stressful as well because you're close quarters with people, and we had the dogs with us, and but they were happy. We were docked. We weren't out to sea all the time. We were docked, at different ports, so they were able to go on the beach. And my puppies, the German shepherds, they liked coconuts, so we'd have all these coconut shreddings on the back of the boat. And they got to go on the beach and just run and play and dig and have fun. So it was nice for the dogs. But really, really, it was really stressful, and John drank a lot, obviously, just because he wanted to enjoy his time. He didn't know when we could have gotten caught or him being arrested or something. So obviously he enjoyed himself, but because of the stress of the situation as well, he probably overindulged a lot. But we tried to keep each other. I guess I could say I tried to just minimize his stress, and I tried to just be someone who was just watching his back, where he could feel comfortable with knowing that, I'm on guard as well. I'm watching for anything that's happening or anyone that might have nefarious intent towards him. So
you were ride or die.
Yeah.
Man, intense relationship. Sunita's got to listen to this later when she complains about the intensity of our situation. So come on, it's nothing compared to this. So what was John's plan? Like, what did he tell you kind of his plan was? It was like, there was no, like, we're just, on the run and I have to keep moving, or was there an ultimate, end of the rainbow scenario where you guys could kind of settle down and not feel, and finally feel at ease? Was there a plan there?
So the initial plan was just to get to the Bahamas, because there was no income tax there. And because of the charges against him, because they were tax related, that's what the current charges were at the time. He couldn't be extradited from the Bahamas because there is no income tax in the Bahamas. And so in order to be extradited from a country, the crime that you're accused of has to be a crime in the country that you're in. So that's why we went to the Bahamas. And the plan was also to just, to avoid being collected, and that's what we did. But what happened in the Bahamas was that they came up with this plan to, instead of, obviously, since they couldn't extradite him, so then they decided, he said he got word somehow, I'm not sure, that they were going to plan on coming and arresting him for anything, whatever it was, drunken, disorderly, something, just to get him in custody and then ship him back to America. And so what happened one day, when he found that out, we went sort of into hiding on the island, and we had security footage or security cameras on our boat, and we had some footage of the police actually coming onto the boat while we were, in hiding. So from there, we left and went to Cuba. And obviously, I don't think I need to explain why we went to Cuba because, it's clear that Cuba would never cooperate with America under any circumstances.
Yeah.
So we were relatively comfortable there, very comfortable actually for a few months. But then what happened with that was that John and I were out, and one day someone came to our boat with a slip saying that they wanted John to come to this area or to meet with someone. It didn't say who. And so I went with him, and it looked like old army barracks or something. I don't know. It looked very scary. We were nervous.
Oh my God, I can only imagine. Holy shit.
Very nervous. Yeah. So, and the general, he spoke to the general, and the general said that where the U.S. has requested that we send you back, to them.
Oh, wow.
And, but we're not going to do that. They said, but you have 72 hours to leave. You can't stay here anymore. We appreciate you being here. They weren't unhappy with us being there, obviously, but they gave us 72 hours. So we had to figure out how to get out of there. And we had just sent our captain home because he had been with us for, a few months or a month or so. I'm not sure. But he had just went home, kind of for a vacation, and he was going to come back in a week. And so we were trying to find someone else to captain our boat. And, at the last minute, I think we had like 12 hours left. The captain was able to come back. And the representative, the same one that came initially to the boat to bring the slip, he came, I think, the second day and the third day as well, and said, okay, are you going to be gone? You have X amount of time. And John told him, if I have to swim to get away from here, I'll do that. And so, but we were able to leave there. And then from there, we went to Guatemala. I'm sorry, not Guatemala, the Dominican Republic. And that was a whole another situation. I've been talking a lot. Maybe let you ask another question. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I'm living through you. Amazing stories. I mean, are you gonna look back with regret at these? I mean, just kind of are you gonna look back like, oh my God, those were amazing moments?
Yeah, definitely with pride, and because they were amazing moments. John was he was so amazing. I know he gets a lot of flack from people because they didn't understand his methods. But he was an amazing man, and he really, really had a love for people, and he wanted to make everyone around him comfortable. That's what he always tried to do, and he always tried to make sure everyone was enjoying themselves and having a good time, and they had what they needed. This is what was important to him. We would go out. That's why you see the videos and things. It wasn't all fun and games, but he tried to make it entertaining, tried to make it fun, because the situation was so stressful and so heavy for him and myself. No one else was really in any danger, but he and I were. But he tried to make it, a good time for everybody, while still trying to conduct business. And he just was brilliant in that way. And so I will always look back on my time with him as the best time of my life.
What was like his philosophy? If you would have sat down with him, like, John, like, why are we doing this? Can't we? Is there another way? Why are we on the run? How was he seeing it from his standpoint morally? Why did he feel like he was doing the right thing?
Because he felt at that time that he had paid more than his fair share of taxes. I believe he said it over $50 million in his adult lifetime, obviously, when he created the antivirus, and up until he was deported back from Guatemala to America. So in between that time, he had paid taxes, and he felt that he had paid his fair share. And this, taxation being theft was the hill that he wanted to die on, if you will. He really felt passionate about that they were illegal. Obviously, they are unconstitutional income taxes, and just trying to, I don't know if maybe his philosophy, but he just wanted to wake people up. He just wanted to wake people up from their slumber of, this is how life is, because it's always been this way. This is how it has to always be. Because I was raised to believe this, or because I was taught to believe this or do this, this is what I have to do. I can't step outside of the box of normality, whatever that is for each individual. And he wanted to very much break that, that illusion or whatever. He just wanted to shock people out of their slumber, and wake up to the reality of the world around us, and try to help get people present in the now. We're so focused on either the regrets of our past or what we want our future to be, that we're missing what's happening now, But I will say maybe a philosophy of his, he always would say this at the end of his podcast. I don't know if he said it to you when you guys spoke, but he said, do what you love and only what you love. And he said, he would always give the example of shiny shoes. And he'd say, if that's what you love to do, he said, do that. And he said, and the world will respond. You'll find a way, you'll figure out a way to make it profitable, to make money from it, and I think that's so true right now. So many people are stuck in jobs that they hate, stuck in families that they, or in marriages that they hate their spouses. The love is no longer there. Children doing things to just please their parents or whatever it is. There's so many miserable people in this world. And I think if we could accept that, it's a little scary because you say, okay, well, I have this job and right now it provides for my family and everything, but I do have this other passion that I want to do, but I'm scared of, what if I lose this income? But if you're really truly passionate about it, you'll find a way to make an income from it. You'll find a way to be able to provide what you need to survive. And I think that's very important. I think it's so important because it shows in our society. Everybody's so miserable. That's why we're at each other's throats.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that this will cure that because we'll still be at each other's throats for some reason or another. But I think if people could kind of minimize their misery, maybe that could be a step in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah, so his philosophy is, live life to follow your heart, be an individual,
Yeah.
be who you are. That's what life is all about, which I think is why he was so privacy conscious, right? And wanted to build was into these technologies that wouldn't allow for surveillance because he wanted to make sure that people can preserve their individuality. He saw that as the greatest gift. I couldn't agree more. That's what makes us human. I mean, so what do you think? Do you think was he an optimist about this? Like he saw the impending dystopia upon us, right? Or it's already here, but growing. But he also saw cryptocurrency, this miraculous solution. I mean, did he feel like things were going to work out and the people would win, and individuality would win, or what was his take? Do you know? That's a tough question, obviously. I mean, I can't expect you to. Yeah.
I don't know that he really ever voiced that.
Was he an optimist about it? Was crypto going to succeed, and we were going to, the state apparatus as we know it would be a former shell of itself? I mean, did he see it as like crypto?
That was the hope.
Yeah.
That was definitely the hope. But John was, an optimist. He was not. John was not he was a realist. But I don't think he really would have given that much thought. Now here I'm just kind of stepping in and putting maybe my opinion, just giving my opinion of what I think. I think what he was focused on it was just trying to wake people up to this,
and then whatever
and in the way that he could, and also spreading the word about crypto as much as he possibly could, and about the benefits of it to us, the people, because it's created by the people, it's for the people. And as long as we don't let the government come in with their regulations and their foolery, and these CBDCs, I hope everyone can see them for what they are. But unfortunately, for the masses, for me, I see that maybe that is something that may be adopted just because of the volatility in this space, and just because of situations like FTX.
Yeah.
This is something that people that aren't already in crypto, if they're looking at it and they're seeing that, then they're going to say, no, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm going to use this, what the government has to offer, and not accepting the truth of the government, which is it's corrupt to its core, and they're going to do the same thing with crypto that they've done with the dollar, with fiat currency, if they could do it, that's what they're going to do. And if we allow that to have mass adoption, we're going to be totally enslaved. I'm not sure that there's much that can be done to prevent it. I think that they are working hard towards that goal. Obviously they can't have this, cryptocurrency in the hands of the people. They want to have want to have their stronghold on it. They
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to control people and collect whatever they want to collect, and they'll be able to have all of our information, and there will be no freedom left once that happens. I think we can maybe ward it off, maybe defend ourselves against it for a while. But I think eventually, I'm sorry if this sounds a little doom and gloom, but I'm just watching how things are happening, and unfortunately, the masses, there's still, I think we could see with the situation with COVID, that people are still very much trusting their governments and trusting that they have our best interests at heart when it's clear that they don't, even with the COVID situation. I think, I read the article about, I forget what organization it was, but anyway, there was a mentioning amnesty. We need to have amnesty now.
Oh my God, yes.
And that was just such an insane thing because people were so demonized. People lost their jobs, their homes, their lives. All of these terrible things happened because our governments thought it was a good idea to shut down everything. And there were people, John was one in the beginning, that were saying, this is not, it's not as serious of a problem to shut down a country. You're shutting, keeping everybody locked in their homes. And there's going to be massive ramifications from that. We knew this going in, and yet they still pushed for it, and you still have people defending it, and that's why I say, maybe not, we're not doomed, but definitely that the government will feel, or the powers that be will find a way to worm themselves into the situation, and we'll find ourselves in a kind of dystopian futures akin to George Orwell's 1984.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You really killed the mood.
Sorry.
No,
but I think us as individuals, we have a way with the privacy points.
Yes.
This is why we.
I think that the fight against it, and I think John would agree, because this is basically what he touched upon in that interview, was it's about adoption. It's about people using it. This is what I always say too. That the solution is there. It exists. The technology is there. It works. The network exists. Now we just all need to onboard. I get what you're saying. The pessimistic view that people just aren't going to, because they're sheep, and we've seen so many examples of it. Most recently with the entire world shutting down, and being fooled into fearing this thing where they were willing to give up all rights, to their government. But I am an optimist. I do think people are, as much as like it hurt to watch the mass psychosis, I do think a lot of people woke up after. There was a percentage. And with the internet, with the internet and podcasts and all, like word is getting out, and crypto's getting into people's hands, and people are really, they are sheep. So I think it's gonna take a lot longer than we think. But eventually the herd is all going to rush in the other direction. I feel like it. I don't know. I'm an optimist, but
that's cool. I think I like your optimism, and I could be completely wrong. I am very very much a pessimist.
Yeah. If I wasn't, I don't know what I'd be doing here, right? I'm like, I would just be wasting my time trying to onboard people in Monero.
I think there is value in education, obviously, and helping people to understand the technology, and onboarding, getting people onboarded. And I think if there was more unity in the space, where people weren't so much in their feelings about whatever coin that they're backing, or whatever crypto celebrity that they're backing, we're very tribal in that way, but we don't have to be at each other's throats, because we are trying to build this ecosystem to replace the current system, and we need all hands on deck. We need everybody's ideas. We need to be sharing ideas. We need to be working together, because we're trying to replace this burdensome system that has been keeping us from being in charge of our own money. And because we're trying to replace that, like I said, we need everybody working together in a way that helps to get more people involved, more people excited about the space, and how hopefully that will bring about mass adoption, greater adoption.
Yeah, no, it's a shame to see, because the community of people that truly believe in the proper ideals of crypto, for what it is, censorship resistant digital cash. It's a small community to begin with, right? There's only so many people on this globe that actually agree like that's important tech, and then among them, they're all fighting each other, which way to go because of the bags that they hold. I mean, I'm guilty as charged too, but it's unfortunate. We need to unite. We need to unite.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it will just take some time. Janice,
we also need decentralized exchanges. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Decentralized exchanges for sure. That will also help us to kind of veer away from.
John was working on one. Did he ever launch? Wasn't he like being a part of that one of those projects? I rember when I interviewed him. I don't remember. Did it ever launch or?
I don't think it launched. Okay. Obviously when he went to prison, things kind of went sideways with all of that. So I'm not sure what's happening with those projects, but I think Ghost is still going, which was his privacy coin that he was working on. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure about his DEX. I know he was working. There was a DEX he was working.
Yeah, we have.
I'm not sure if
we have Havino. I don't know if you heard of that. That's being built by the Monero community. That's going to be a decentralized exchange. That's Monero based. Sarai DEX is being built. That's going to be essentially Monero based in a way to swap between other coins, kind of like a Thorchain. I don't know if you're familiar with Thorchain, but it's like a Monero based. So yeah, there's a lot of solutions being built. But you're right. That 100% is what we need. We need. I mean, you saw it with FTX, right? It's the same. It's nothing new. It happened with, Mt. Gox years ago, right? Like, this is nothing new. People act like, oh my God, crypto's dead. Like, no, centralized exchanges are dead. They don't work. There's solutions, but you can keep losing your money there until you're like we said, it's just going to take people some time. But once it hits their pockets enough, people will might. And once the other solutions become user friendly enough, which they're going to get there, there's no reason why they can't be both decentralized and easy to access. So, yeah, totally agree. That's a major utility that we need. We need you down at Monerotopia, Mexico. I don't know. Talk to your attorneys. Janice, thank you so much. This is an amazing interview. I greatly appreciate you coming on and being so genuine and letting me ask you personal questions in front of all our millions of viewers. I appreciate it. Thank you for doing it. Where can people follow you? And we'll continue off on here, but I usually do this just so you get the information out. Like, obviously, you want people to go to the petition. Just any information that you want people to have, links. Put it out there.
So you can find me on Twitter, obviously at the Mrs. Mcafee. So I'm sure people are already there, but that's where you can find updates about what's happening with John. I've also the petition as well, although more so just following me on Twitter. And if there's any news organizations that are listening, I'd be happy to speak with you. I just want to really get the word out about what's happening here in Spain, and to really try to apply more pressure on the authorities here, so that I'm not here still in limbo waiting, for John's remains to be released, because I want to lay him to rest. He deserves that.
Yeah, guys, sign the petition. It's let's put pressure on this. This is bullshit. People deserve, whether you even agree with the story. The fact is, this government is greatly overstepped here, and it shouldn't be doing this. So sign this petition, and maybe we'll get their attention, right? I think you're doing a great thing. Putting your energy towards this and trying to bring attention to it and make change. And I know it's not easy, especially with the all the emotions that you're dealing with. So the least we could do is sign your petition. Guys, do it.
Thank you.
Are you down to answer some questions from the community if we transition into the space?
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome.
To ask a question to Janice, did you use other privacy systems or protocols like Tor browser or PGP to encrypt message or some secure mail messaging, etc.?
Yes, I've used that Tor browser, encrypted messaging. But I think John was because he was so knowledgeable about security that he always felt that encrypted messaging was no longer a viable way of protecting your messages, because there was no longer a man in the middle, if you will. There was that wasn't happening anymore, because our phones were then, our were spying on us, so they didn't have to use that sort of encryption, because they already had abilities to get the information before it's encrypted. So he felt that that was just unnecessary technology, and because he was so knowledgeable, it's obviously something that I would take his advice on it. So I have used these things, but it's not something that's essential to my everyday life.
Good question. Good question. Anybody else want to jump up? Monero community is always very shy.
It's okay. Well, don't be shy, guys. I will answer your questions to the best of my ability.
Come on, guys. Somebody jump up. Wow, we were just listening. All right, we can leave it at that. We don't need to push the issue. Janice, greatly appreciate you doing all this, jumping on, doing it on a Twitter space. Thank you so much. And yeah, if anybody has a question, oh wait, we got to hold on. Here we go. People are stepping up. See, I just had to threaten them there, and then they would do all the stuff up. Joy Raptor, what's going on?
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you, Janice. It was really impactful listening to your story. I was wondering, do you have anything to say to there's a lot of privacy people that are constantly kicking the bee's nest and posting stuff on Twitter and being controversial. Is there any things that you would advise people not to do, or that you guys did that you're like, maybe shouldn't have poked the bee's nest in that way, or precautions to take that maybe aren't very well known?
Okay, when you say poke the bee's nest, in what way do you mean exactly?
Well, for instance, saying inflammatory things, to like screw the Fed and stuff like. I mean, Mcafee got a lot of attention, and for that reason, I think he's done a lot of good. But like, were there any big mistakes looking back on your trail that you would be like, hey, if you're in privacy, if you want to be vocal about privacy, you can do it, but maybe avoid these things. They were difficulties for us.
Okay, that's a really good question. So John was able to be more in your face about things, just because they were already coming after him. So there was no need for him to hold his tongue. And there was nothing that he was doing was going to prevent them from coming after him, or stop them from coming after them. They were already going to come. And so I think that's why he was able to be so aggressive in his rhetoric. I think that's what I could say. Yes, fierce as well, and fearless. But I think for the average person who's not dealing with the intensity of the situation that we were in, I think there were ways, obviously, to communicate your I guess there's ways to speak without being so inflammatory. I guess I think I'm understanding what you're saying. Yeah, you don't have to be so in your face as John was, but at the same time, though, the situation kind of calls for it. If you look at what's happening in the world today, there's so much blatant corruption, and they just throw it in our faces, and we don't say anything, we don't do anything, or a lot of us take the attitude of, well, what's my little voice going to do, or this is how it's been and this is how it's going to always be. But as long as we continue to accept it, that's why they're able to continue to do what they're doing. And I think John's methods were helpful, because he was able maybe to get people's attention. We live in an age where people have the attention span of a gnat. You get maybe 30 seconds. That's why TikTok is so popular. You got short videos. People don't have the attention span for in-depth conversations. And so what John did is carefully crafted his public figure persona to be that shock value, to get that attention. I bet you there's way more people in the world that know about his Bitcoin prediction than the people that have listened to him actually speak when he's gone and done interviews or gone and done talks at different conferences. They don't know that. And when you hear those things, then you can see he was really passionate and very knowledgeable about what he was saying. And you could see the difference between what he would tweet about and how it was just used to get people's eyeballs so that he then could then share what his true message was. So I think people have to find their own voice and their own way of kind of trying to bring awareness. And if they want to kick the bee's nest, as you said, just be aware that they will target you and they will come after you, and you have to just be prepared for that.
Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you.
Great
God
questions,
bless.
guys, and fantastic response. Anybody else? Come on, guys, jump up. Go ahead, Janice.
Yeah, I don't bite, you guys. You can ask questions, but yeah, I would just, well, maybe I'll just speak a little more about the gentleman's previous question about kicking the hornet's nest. Like I was saying, John had this because he was older. People say when you get older, you stop giving a fuck what people think, and you lose the filter, and you just really just say what you want. You do what you want, and that's very much how he lived. And because he knew how the system worked, because he had, intimate knowledge of the inner workings of these governments, from them coming after him or just because of the work that he did with his antivirus. I think he felt that it was more his duty, almost like it was his duty. I think he had said to me before that he didn't know why he had to do the things that he did, but it was like something was calling him to speak up, to be this voice, and he didn't necessarily, obviously he didn't want to have to deal with the consequences of that, but he couldn't not be silent. It was just something that he was extremely passionate about, and something that he wanted to be able to bring a voice to, as someone who had been behind on the other side. He had at one point $100 million, so he rubs shoulders with all of these people, and so he understood how things were actually working behind the scenes, behind the curtain. And I think he wanted to share that knowledge with his followers. But maybe someone has a question now. Yeah.
Monegro.
Oh,
Hi,
Montegro.
Janice.
Hi.
Thanks so much for doing this. It's really really cool of you to jump on here and chat with us. I was curious, if I understand correctly, y'all spent quite a lot of time on the ocean, sailing, kind of trying to avoid the long arm of the government. I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit what that was like. How was that experience, being out on the ocean so much?
It was very stressful. I think I've mentioned that, but it was very stressful, and it was fun. And we weren't on. It was just a few months. I think we were from January of 2019 until maybe early July of 2019. So we were traveling on the boat for that time, and we went to the Bahamas and Cuba, and that was amazing. Going to Cuba was amazing. The people there were such beautiful people. They were a happy people. Obviously not happy with their government situation. Obviously not happy with the standard of living. However, they still had joy in their hearts. They still smiled. They still loved and laughed. And that was something that was very inspiring for me to see that, because obviously I think everyone is familiar with the situation in Cuba. Not to mention the U.S. With their sanctions that they still have against Cuba, but also their own government, that's kind of been abusive towards them. So anyways, I think I'm just saying that just because if anyone has an opportunity to go to Cuba, I like the place because it was, somewhere where America couldn't get their stronghold on, that Cuba really just said, fuck you, America. And they survived, albeit, not in the best of circumstances, but I think that's pretty badass, and the people, again, were just beautiful, and the Bahamas was beautiful. We got to be together, so that was really good. And John, John was John, and he just trying to make sure
everybody was happy and comfortable and had a good time, and just trying to relieve some stress for him. He drank and we smoked weed, and it was, I mean, obviously from what our posts on Twitter, it looks like it was some sort of awesome time, and it was a lot of times, but it was very stressful for him more so because he had more knowledge of what exactly was happening and how they were coming after him. So I wouldn't recommend it if it's something that you can avoid. Definitely, I would say do that. Try to avoid it. But if it's not, then you just make the most. You make the best of it. You take it one day at a time and handle each crisis as it comes.
What kind of plans do you have for the future? Hopefully, after you can get the all the legal issues sorted out.
Well, to be with my children, I say this a lot, but I just really want to be with children. I miss them so much. So just to be a mama there, obviously, that's the biggest thing. But aside from that, I want a book. I want to write a book, obviously, to tell the story of my life, prior to John, and obviously our story. And I want to help women. I want to help women that are in prostitution or in some sort of form of that business or that world. I want to be able to speak to them and help them in whatever way I can. I want to be able to help women, men, and children, all that are in abusive situations. Kind of give a voice to that as well, because that was my situation. Prior to my meeting John. I just want to be able to help people in whatever way I can, however that comes to fruition. I'm down for that. So right now I'm just using my platform and my relationship with John, obviously, to kind of help cultivate and I guess move me into that direction of being an advocate for women that are in prostitution and in that world, and for people that are in abusive situations as well.
Body, great questions, man.